At Mère Marché, slow living is at the heart of our brand philosophy. Our products and offerings are designed to create moments of pause, allowing individuals to connect with themselves and their surroundings, fostering a sense of harmony and well-being. Our prayer is that by honoring people and the planet through our brand efforts, we will inspire others to embrace whole beauty and commune with nature. We invite all of our listeners to enjoy 15% off Mère Marché's entire product line with code MèreMarché at MèreMarché.com. Hi, and welcome to the Mère Marché podcast. I'm your host, Christy Wright, and today I have with me a dear friend, Kailey Waite. She is the owner of Fabled Oaks Farm and the Oak Haven. Hi, Kailey.
Hi.
Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
So you have two businesses. You're a mom. You're a former wellness professional. But before we get into all that, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey to where you are now.
Yeah, I'm from Oahu originally, and I've always just felt a drive to kind of follow my own beat. And yeah, I think just in the process of, wanting to get tattoos, wanting to get piercing, then just adults in my life saying, you can't get a job and you can't do this. And it's like, well, I don't want a job that has I'm put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I just always felt like there was more, and it made more sense to just follow what felt authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And just what allowed me to express myself fully. Mm. So, just with that as my mantra of just knowing it works out if I just follow what felt good.
Yeah.
And then just having confirmation of that throughout my life and jumping into things that some people might be like, isn't that really intimidating? Weren't you afraid? And there's just some things that aren't scary to me, but I don't like roller coasters. There's certain types of risks that are worth it. And a lot of it is just the value in learning through experience. Mm-hmm. Is you pay for your education either way, and I rather have that experience of it. So, I was a skateboarder for a long time.
I love that.
And which is also very similar. My brothers all play baseball and they're on team sports. And, my parents wanted to guide me into doing also team sports. But I just really love the skateboard culture of doing something for you and you being your own coach. And it's this whole, you really understand just how everything is so mental and how powerful our mind is, and how you build up that confidence and you build up your skill level as you focus. There's just those universal kind of patterns that show up in anything that you focus on that is true. I wanted to get into body work at a young age. Middle school, I knew I wanted to be a massage therapist.
Oh, wow.
I just really, enjoyed just having that power of lightening up. I think I would go to parties, where my parents were having a party, and I'd just be massaging the adults' shoulders, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that feels amazing! You should do this." And just seeing them be from stressed out, intense, serious, to just softening up, and I just felt like it was a really good icebreaker. And then it just turned into seeing, the struggles and just the disconnect that kind of happens, and not really understanding why people have pain and why certain things come up and why certain injuries happen, and just wanting to know what to do in that situation. Mm-hmm. So it's I've always kind of had that thought process of trying to problem solve before there was a problem and know the solution. And so I just felt really drawn to learn So I basically went into massage school straight out of high school.
Okay.
And it's just one of those things where I had to keep learning. So I'm like, oh, I can help this percentage of my clients, but then there's this percentage that still has that injury. So I would try to dive deeper and deeper. I'm like, oh, this is the modality you need. Oh, this is the technique we need to try. Oh, this is the muscle we need to release. And just got really far into it, like 11 years into massaging, to where I was like good at fixing people.
Yeah.
But then I just got to a point where I realized I wasn't really helping people in the way I wanted to, as I started to understand the patterns that kind of unfold in your life and how it shows up in different ways. And everything, whether it's negative, there's a lesson behind it. And I just got to a point where I felt like I don't want to take away their pain because it's here for a reason. Like I felt more inspired to have them understand the pattern behind it.
Oh, wow.
And allow them, because it's just becomes one of those things where it's that same mentality that repeats itself. So it's like, once I have that car, then I'll be like so happy. Once I have that job, then I'll be so happy. Once I have that thing, once this pain is gone, then I'll be happy. I could do this and that.
Yeah.
And it's just, as soon as maybe one thing gives, and it's an endless cycle. So I really wanted to kind of shift that dynamic and move more into, like, if you give yourself permission to feel good right now, what will happen? You know, it's like how, because I really believe that would shift everything going on in their body and everything going on in their life. But then really just the fear behind what's keeping them from allowing themselves to feel good in that moment is the thing that you need to understand.
Yeah. Like the source of the pain. Where's it really stemming from?
Yeah. And as I started to understand that, and it just kind of felt heavy to have my clients, I just felt like I wasn't doing them a service, because they would see it as, okay, I have this pain and your job is to take it away, and then just lay there and waiting for it to go away. And it's like there's so much more to it, and I really wanted them to feel more empowered.
Wow.
So I did get into like teaching self-massage, and so they can get into that empowering role of like actively releasing muscles and restrictions themselves, but then also kind of working with unwinding the mind, the patterns, and allowing in mindfulness into that moment, allowing in the good feelings of the massage in that moment without the expectation. So, and there's been just that thought process alone, and that discovery is just, I see it reflecting all over in my life in many ways. And so just looking at just everything.
Yeah.
So where did I go from there? And then I just got kind of swept into the world of motherhood. And it's funny how you think you know what it's going to be like as a mom and as a parent, and like, yeah, I'm not going to do what my parents did. I'm going to be more connected and just fun and engaged. And yeah, that's been like a whole shift. And then, but it always just comes back to like any restriction that I come across, or any like wall or something I don't understand. There's always just some lesson that is really just me allowing what is, allowing allowing like I guess like divine timing, you know, of how things unfold, and less of like trying to force how things should be happening and when, and just like
that's beautiful.
everything is perfect. Like,
Yeah.
this is exactly how it needs to be. It's for like, I'm here to experience and see this, and just kind of reflecting on that. And
do you feel like your mindset shift from when you started in the wellness industry to when you exited the wellness industry helped prepare you for motherhood in that way of like just giving you the freedom to let things unfold naturally?
By like
Just accepting things as they come and problem solving, or being okay with not having all the answers, since you felt that, you know, as even as a massage, therapist, helping others heal.
It's easy how when life shifts, you don't see that, like, you have to realize it all over again. Yeah, so I went to like life was just hard again, and like fighting things, and then you just kind of come to the realization like, oh, everything is actually really perfect, and it's okay. And we're on this journey to enjoy it moment to moment, and not just have what we think it should be right now. And like this house is like so much that of just nothing what I thought it would be, it like became, and it just kind of had to go with the flow of that.
Yeah, so let's go into that, because we're actually sitting in Kylie and James's Airbnb. It's also a wedding venue. Go into that story, how all that came to be. Was that always a dream of yours?
It is in so many ways. I always have ideas of how I visualize my life, and I didn't really know exactly how that was going to look like. And reflecting on that is just so funny, because before we moved out here, and as I was thinking about maybe starting something again after the being involved with opening a wellness center, and having my own practice, I really wanted some kind of community center. And I was really into skateboarding, so I'm like, oh, I want to have like a skate cafe, but it also allows like homeschool moms to come and bring their kids, and the kids can play in the garden in the backyard, and
the mind of
just
a creative.
This whole but I was piecing so much of what's here. I don't have my skate park yet, but just still piecing everything. It's just so funny how it unfolds in a way that makes sense.
So you moved here from Orange County, and did you always think you would have land and maybe an Airbnb? Was it, just kind of like a far off dream, or did it just all happen and unfold pretty quickly?
Yeah. I didn't know you could just have what we have. Like, it's really like just having a creek, and having just me having two bigger sized dogs while living in an apartment in a city, and having to actively like run and skate them every day, and just wanting to have an open place for them to run outside of the dog beach or whatever. I've always had those desires to take them out in public and take them to like just be in nature. And then during the lockdown, when we've just felt kind of trapped in Orange County and almost like isolated from nature, there's just all this drive that made sense to kind of create our own space. But for me, it was like an opportunity to still continue that desire to create that community, because that's always kind of what it's been about with Sacred Roots, the Holistic Center, and just a strong desire as a new mom, just feeling so isolated and lonely. And those are the things, those strong feelings, whether it's negative, it creates a really clear idea of what you do want. And from that, it's like allowing that to exist. and knowing that you could have that and you can create that. So it was like, oh, community.
Yeah.
That's like what you need to
Yeah.
enjoy it all. And we would host people all the time in our little place, and we'd always have people staying with us here and there. And I remember telling James at one point, like, I wish I could have like an inn one day, like reading these like fantasy novels. Just like, it'd be so cool just to have people come from out of town and stay, and we make a big stew and they come eat and we hang out and tell stories. And it's just funny because I didn't even think about that till recently. I'm like, oh, we're like creating that.
Yeah, you have in so many ways. I mean, even just like the farm, I feel, when you moved out here and you bought a farm of all things, but also bringing people into that, that was such a huge thing for me and my kids, just coming to Creek Days, and it already felt so warm and inviting, and you've certainly created that dream.
Yeah, it's so needed, and that's a big part of it. It's just, and a big journey of getting into farming is like, you can't do it without a community. Yeah. So like, we harvest our olives, and it's like, we need everyone here to help us.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's set up.
You have an emphasis on Korean natural farming, correct?
Yeah.
And where does that come from? Where does that desire stem from?
So probably like for so long, little like whispers in my ear here and there.
Yeah.
But definitely from just going through my own journey on food, and deciding what I want to be putting in my body, how I want to be contributing, what part I want to take, what lifestyle I want to have. So just buying organically and going to the farmers markets has always been like really important, since I understood it. But it's funny because when I first went to massage school, I had no idea about any of it. Like, I would show up with like McDonald's, and they'd be like, you can't bring that in here. and until we took like a nutrition class, like in the massage school, I had no idea. I just like, why not? And so I've definitely come a long way, and not making anything like the enemy. And I know a lot of it is just how the energy we put behind anything.
Absolutely.
Definitely is what affects us. But I really believe in our gut health, and I really believe in, just, there's just so much evidence to the way you think about like sustainability. Like, it has to, for something to be sustainable, it needs to withstand time, and it needs to be able to exist with a long-term plan. And I mean, even organic conventional farming is not a sustainable approach. But it's like amazing effort being put into mass production of food without using other chemicals and things. So already moving and buying a farm that was already a huge avocado grove and olive grove, and there was a small vineyard. There was already like a management company working the land. So when we moved in, we met with them, and the property was run conventionally, and mostly the avocados were managed. The olives were still new, so no one was really managing them. They've never been harvested yet. And the avocado manager was just like, okay, yeah, so you have a really bad mite problem, and you have root rot here, and you have this and this, and it's time to spray with the helicopter. And
wow,
the house is just wrapped around the avocado groves. And I just put my foot down, like, we're not spraying, like we're moving organic, like this point forward, like. And he was just like, well, I don't do that. And he was just like kind of pushing how it needs to happen. And I was like, we live here. Like, we're not spraying over our home. So it was just kind of like a flat out no. And so it really, and there's things you just say like, oh yeah, we're going to be organic, but not really having any idea what that means and how much work that is. And the more you look into the support that's there for mass production organically, which I call like conventional organic, is it's not a sustaining thing. Like the trees are still reliant on you providing nutrients to it. You're like spoon feeding these trees and still pumping them with stuff, and in a different way, and just the way everything is monocropped, and there's just so much. But there's also a lot of hand labor you have to do because you aren't spraying for herbicides. So like weed abatement and stuff. There's just a lot of, they're carrying on that same idea over to organic. There's a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. So yeah, just that's a whole kind of like journey into that. But I started getting into bokashi, which is a way you can kind of compost and break things down. They also use it with like animal farming, which it's like basically it's a type of lactobacillus that you're growing out that's like a beneficial microbe that abates smells, and it just breaks things down. And it's just an efficient way to break waste down naturally, and you can make it yourself and all that. So that was one thing that I started to get into, just understanding the power of microbes and just going down that hole. I actually had a family member reach out to me. I'm from Hawaii, and I actually don't talk to her that much. And she called me at like 6 a.m, and it was like 3 or 4 a.m. in Hawaii. And she just basically said, you bought a farm, and I saw you want to farm organically, and I couldn't sleep. And I just kept thinking, like, Kylie needs to know about Korean natural farming. She's like, I have a friend. He has the most amazing farm. He's raising pigs. There's no smell. His plants are so healthy. He's making all of his own nutrients, and it's like really incredible. And I just feel like it's everything that you represent. And you're Korean, so you should do it. And there's all these things, and it just was like, yes. Like I was just looking for the thing that made the most sense. And I was probably studying it for about a year, and there's so much information, and a lot of it was designed for in Korea.
Okay.
And a lot of people have their own like little family farms, and so it's more small scale things. And so looking into like, okay, we have like 6 acres of avocados and 4 acres of olives and this like acre of grapes, and I don't even know how to approach making all that and the time to make all of it, and how to shift that. So, but I just knew that was the avenue I wanted to go. And so with Korean natural farming, you're essentially microbe farming, and the main part of it is building out the indigenous microorganisms. And so there's like a whole very beautiful process of doing that, of going to like an old growth forest and basically taking a collection of those hyphal diameter mycelia that you see kind of growing in the leaf litter, and just really healthy forest floor like leaf mulch. And you actually grow out like from a box you make with like cooked rice that you leave out for a few days. It's the whole thing that we do.
That's
It's crazy.
amazing.
And you are, all that life grows into the box. And then
Wow.
we take that box and we grow it out. So you
Gosh.
feed it and you grow it, and then you can turn it into a compost tea and spray it directly, or you can put it directly in. That's a very short version of the process.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And
though.
so just establishing those microbes onto our land, because that's the big thing that's missing with farming. With really, there's a number of reasons why there's a lot of microbes that are ground. Definitely with our property, because it was farmed conventionally, like it just kills everything. The other thing is just having all this exposed soil. There's just not a lot of life there to like
Yeah.
allow to continue. There's a lot of erosion. Topsoil's like barely there. There's so much like
Wow.
remedial work to do. Yeah, so my teacher, Chris, he did amazing work just from him talking about his experience with KNF and a lot of other farms that he's worked with, of just changing the game with organic farming. Like actually farmers able to see profit because they're not stuck in these crazy cost margins of how much the organic fertilizers and nutrients cost compared to conventional,
Yeah.
on top of all of the extra labor, on top of all of the other diseases you have to combat, and things that
Yeah.
usually just the conventional methods just kind of handle it. So yeah, they really believed in it, and they actually abandoned and gave up on the organic and had to go to conventional fully to save their farm. And then they found Korean natural farming, and super skeptical because they've been at it with organic farming for so long, and started with IMO, so indigenous microorganisms, on a few trees, like I think like 14 trees, and some already had like root rot, for like the macadamia root rot, where there's no going back for that organically. Like you're just kicking it into a ditch a few months later. Like it's not something you resolve.
Yeah.
And they resolved.
Oh my gosh.
And all they did was establish those microbes and that mycelium back into the soil. And then also when they had like a drought, the area where they're doing the IMO was still like green and happy, like just the cover crops there.
Wow.
And a lot of it has to do with when you have that life and you have the microbes in the soil, they are alive, and they're just like us, how we're more water than anything. That life and those microbes in the soil are like 90% water too. And so it's like a battery where they slow release their water into the ground. So you have that buffer of that dormance, because they basically go dormant when they don't have water, but they're not gone. So there's so many reasons why it made sense to do it. And so he slowly kind of expanded. Now their whole farm, I think they're like 700 acres or something, is all KNF. I'm sorry, I forgot numbers.
That's
So it might be way more than maybe 70. I think it's like 700 acres. It's a lot. It's a big farm.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Is all KNF, and it's thriving, and the trees are producing more, and there's so much.
So it would be like a form of regenerative farming in many ways.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's, and you can you can do it with just your backyard garden, or you can do it on like a mass scale. So there's all these other things that you can have fun with KNF, of making your own nutrients at an affordable cost, and they're just really efficient. Or you could just focus on the microbes. We've been it takes a lot to kind of figure out. So we've started with the olives and with the grapes, and The avocados we're actually abandoning mostly
Okay.
because it just doesn't make sense in our climate. It uses so much water,
Yeah.
and it just goes against trying to be a sustainable farm.
Yeah.
So it's just even if we had our well hooked up to get to the avocados, it's just it wouldn't make sense to pull all that fossil water. Like this is so precious out of the ground to just be evaporated into the air. Like
Yeah.
it won't even drink that much. So
Wow.
we're moving towards more dryland farming and what's appropriate to the property. So moving here knowing nothing and just kind of diving in because I want to be organic and I want it to make sense and I don't want to struggle with it not working or whatever. And so and we're still learning. Like I think we maybe scaled too quickly and we're kind of at a point where we are going to kind of stick with the crops we have, which is mainly olive oil right now. And our grapes, just learning exactly how much we want to take on and learn. Yeah, it was kind of like we're all in on the farm and then we had opportunity for the space. So this is kind of like balancing. Right now we're we're like kind of giving birth to two things at the same time and then
while being a mom and a wife and doing all the things. So with the olives, we're doing an olive oil harvest soon, which I'm so excited to be a part of. But do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like, how does that work?
It's been really fun. The olives, when we first got here, I'm trying to think of how old they were. They haven't been harvested yet, and we had a lot of olives, and we ended up harvesting them the first year. And before we found a mill, we like tried to do it ourselves. We're like in the kitchen, just like smashing olives. And then like, I was like, oh, I think if you float it on water, like the oil will be at the top and then you skim off the oil and this whole thing that we're researching. And we just have way too much to try and do it at home. And luckily, I had some mills get back to me and like, yeah, we could press your olives. And so, and there's a few neighbors out here. I'm trying to think of our first harvest. I think we just kind of went for it. I asked a couple questions and we borrowed some crates and bins from different people. But olives are really amazing trees. There's not much. They're so resilient. They do well with low water. Even like the general requirements for water that they say for olives, we do half that and we still have a really high oil quality.
Your olive oil is so good.
It's my favorite. There's a lot of love.
Right here.
Yeah.
For those watching.
A lot of love put into it.
Yeah, it's beautiful and just tastes wonderful.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this harvest was our first year of introducing KNF to the grove, so I was able to put it on the bottle.
That's so exciting.
And then this will be our second year with our olive oil being Crane Natural Farm. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
The only pests we have for the olives is olive fruit fly. So organically, the only way to really combat it is with the kaolin clay.
Okay.
And so we spray the trees with clay, basically like a slurry, like a water slurry clay. And so they're coated white. So we try to coat the fruit as much as possible to protect them. And it's really important if you have trees. It's like the bummer if you don't harvest your fruit and you don't protect your fruit, you're just breeding more of them because they pupate like in the soil and they just kind of keep going.
Yeah.
So we've been working really hard to combat the neglect that was there before, and they're in the area. There's a lot of olive farms out here and people who plant them and don't do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stay on it. So every time it rains, we have to reapply.
Oh, wow.
Luckily, the harvest happens before rainy season pretty much starts. So we had like a hurricane this summer. It was so funny.
Oh,
so we had, there's so many things.
So how do you get the clay? Where does the clay come from?
It's an agricultural like big bag that you buy.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're so pretty, like just walking through it. It's so magical.
Yeah. First I thought it was like it took away having them like white like that, but now it's like, oh, it's like Christmas.
It is. It's so
it's
pretty.
Like they're covered in snow. I'm sure there's like some KNF solutions to what you could do for the olive fruit fly. Well, KNF, Korean Natural Farming, doesn't have so much pest management. It's more about establishing the microbes and establishing that soil food web and that mycelial network where it automatically deters pests and deters disease, and it's more of like a preventative thing. But like, I guess the sister part of KNF, which is Jadam, which it's the son of the creator of Korean Natural Farming. He created Jadam. And it's kind of like short cuff KNFing.
Okay.
And he has amazing research and results for pest control. And so we actually do both. And yeah, we're playing with it. So there might be another thing we could do other than the clay, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Well, I can't wait to experience it. We're going to share more about the harvest day on our Mère Marché blog and talk more about it there. So,
yeah, we're going to document it this year. So we'll have some, but yeah, it's really nice. We try to keep the trees at a good size so we don't have to use ladders and all that. And we just kind of gather around the tree, like, and move tree to tree, just running your fingers through the branches into buckets and crates. And
I love how hands-on that is. Just
you're just kind of
in nature.
And we have a pretty good variety. And it's made to be an olive oil blend.
Okay.
So just having a different variety of olives. So we have Pequal, Ascalana, and Cayenne, I think it's pronounced.
Okay.
So there's like Spanish, Italian, and French, and we have all these different sizes. The little ones are really hard to harvest. They take forever, but those have the highest oil content. So I really try to get those. So it's just like a mindfulness practice and looking at all the other trees to get to. So I try to invite as much of the community and friends, and we get to just kind of share stories and chat while we're going around the trees. So we look forward to it. It's a lot of work, and but it with more hands, it's just like a labor of love, really.
And it brings that community element in that, brought you here in the first place. So
yeah.
I love that. And
just the opportunity to allow people to have that connection with their food and just have that experience. I think like I don't want to experience all that by myself, It's like, I don't want it so I have it. It's like, I want it so I can share it and experience it with everyone. So that's a big part of everything. Yeah. Like the desire to expand our farms. Like, so people can visit. Like,
And when you visit the Airbnb, rent the Airbnb, you also get some olive oil, right?
Yeah, hopefully, because we have a small farm and I don't really put effort towards selling like it online or anything. It's just you stop by the farm, you can get a bottle. But yeah, all of our Airbnb guests, I leave a bottle for them, and it's always available to purchase here.
That's awesome. It's so pretty too. Love it sitting on my counter like while I'm cooking. It's so sweet. So you sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say when the very first year we harvest, I wanted to get like these really cool bottles that I found that were like a circle bottle. And they're like white, like ceramic, but it's like, you have to buy like 2,000 of them to get it. It's like, okay, I only need like 200-300 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, they're perfect. I love it.
So yeah, it's just really simple, and I've just grown to love just like it's as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really fun.
Awesome. And so just down the way, you own the Oak Haven
Yes.
from your farm. So you remodeled it when you got it. Tell us a little bit about that experience. You did such a beautiful job. I mean, if you are watching, you can see how beautiful it is, but it's every little detail you put into it is just fantastic. So
Thank you. Yeah, it was very much not expected of what it meant to take it on. Like it was just like an easy yes with our neighbors were moving suddenly, and we're like, if you guys want it, like we'll sell it off market. And the properties naturally, like they're like connected because the previous owners here and the previous owners of our property, they were best friends. So they have the gates connect, and everything about it, it was like meant to be shared property to property. So things that are missing on our property, they had here. And the
so sweet.
grapes that were planted on our property are the same ones that were planted here, and they were meant to be harvested together. That was something that they planned. So everything about it was just like, okay, but we just bought our farm and we're just kind of learning like what it takes and the investment in that and the time. And we were, I think, just about to like, okay, we could finish our well and we could build a barn and maybe get a tractor. And then this came up. We're like, okay, we're not doing any of that. We're going to buy this. And then, oh, this is what it looks like on the inside. Like we bought it as is. I didn't even see the inside of the house until we sat down to like buy it. And I was like, okay, yeah, we could do something with this, you know. But the outside of the property, they put it's completely, the previous owners did it themselves. And it's amazing. And so I really was so inspired to bring that beauty in and try to keep it timeless but also fun. And yeah, it was really fun playing with colors. And there was like, going back and forth on, do I keep it just really neutral and ethereal? And then I just really wanted to add color places.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah,
I love the color. It's so good.
Yeah. And yeah, so much of it has been just like the kitchen, we're going to do a light remodel, and then it turned into like, oh, we cannot save these cabinets. Damn it, there's like too much damage. And so it just, everything just turned into, okay, we're doing a complete remodel now. Yeah. And so quickly we're like paying for a second mortgage, and the house is just sitting, and the cost of renovating, like paying a contractor because we're not able to build it ourselves, was just so much like to think about. So I had to just like on the spot design as quickly as I could and furnish it and just kind of as things came up, like one of the bathrooms, I was going to keep it original and just change the floors. And then because we were done with the house, and then we realized that bathtub like leaked. So I couldn't keep that retro bathtub. And so we had to demo the whole thing and rebuild it. But it's like way more amazing. And so just thinking back on the like stress and anxiety I felt when I had to like redo it and how much more amazing it is now. It's like there's so much I can like do, like a walking meditation through this house of just like trust. It's meant to unfold. And even as like, you know, I had to like put farming aside for this project, and it felt like so silly to care about interior design when I need to figure out how to farm micro. Like it just seemed like I didn't balance the scale appropriately. But either way, no matter what you're doing, life shows you what life's about. And there's so much to learn.
And there's such a feeling being outside in this place that I feel like you did the home justice by bringing that feeling inside.
Yeah.
So you have the same experience whether you're outside or inside when you're
Yeah.
here. And that's, I mean, that's like what everyone hopes for when they go to an Airbnb, right? Is just the experience. And you've certainly created that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Don't worry, we'll link it.
Yeah.
Because it's beautiful. And so it sits here in Duluth, which is in Southern California. And my perception of Duluth is it's like our little Tuscan section of California, Southern California. It's so beautiful. It's just such a magical place. So coming here to visit, it's so worth it.
Yeah, I had no idea this existed in California. And when we were looking for a house, my husband grew up out here and his family lived here in like Marietta, Wildomar. And I just remember it being hot and they're just more of like tract homes and or you're out in the middle of nowhere. And I just didn't really didn't make sense because I always kind of lived near all the things I like. Even though I was more of a natural girl, I'm like, I want to fully commit to being in nature.
You fully committed. That is perfect.
But just coming out here, we're like, oh, okay, yes. It was just like,
oh, it's so good.
Head spinning, yes. Like, what? Yes. And so it's just so exciting having this property and being able to invite people to come and experience this area. It's just so special. And when I have free time, I can give a farm tour. And it's really, really, it's been fulfilling. Weddings kind of fell into our lap in a really interesting way where the previous owner, they kind of sold it within like a couple months. It was like, we're moving. And then we were like, we're not moving, we're leaving. Like, it was like we bought the house as is and we had to like clear stuff out. And so it was just so fast. And maybe like a month after we took over the property, the previous owner called me and she was like, so I forgot I had a wedding booked in April. And we were like deep into remodeling. And she's like, will you do it? Because that's what they were planning on.
Okay.
They, everything, all their invites. And so it was like February.
What?
When she told me. And so,
oh my gosh.
So it
was
there
it
was
an instant yes, or were you like,
no,
I need a minute?
No, I think we freaked him out for a little bit because we were like, we have to think about that because we were still discovering the house and what we had to do to get it ready to rent. So we didn't want to like stop projects or anything. So, but we realized like, okay, as long as they don't expect to have the whole house, because when they originally booked the wedding, it was with the idea they were just using downstairs because she rented downstairs as an Airbnb and then did weddings on the outside. So the focus was just, getting downstairs ready. So we did it and it was so fun. And it's just, weddings are so magical and just being a part of something so special and holding space for that has been really cool. So we've done like 6 weddings so far and it's just gotten better and better, and every time it's just like confirmation, like, okay, cool.
The first time I saw this place, I was like, man, like, who do I know that could get married here? Like, I really need to see this place as a wedding because it's so magical.
Yeah, I mean, it's an outdoor venue, which adds so much to it.
It has so much Spanish, like the Spanish tiles, and it's just so well done.
I think, there's not much you have to do, and I love our florists. When I talk to the brides who are like looking at their budget, I'm like, you can keep it simple. Like, you totally keep it simple. Like where the ceremony area is, you're like wrapped around the forest, the oak forest there, and the creeks are kind of wrapping it around this way. Like, there's so many things. I'm like, just, you can keep it really simple. And yeah, we've loved it.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so I feel like we're kindred spirits because we've had this conversation where we, like, I have a hard time starting a hobby and not turning it into like a job or something. And I feel like you're kind of wired similarly. But with all that, with having two businesses and being a mom and all the things, how do you feel like, have you found some sense of balance for yourself that works? Um, what would you say?
I think it just comes back to like if you can get into that point of what needs to naturally unfold, it unfolds. Like it's not like a waterfall rush, like it needs to happen. Like it's just
Yeah.
there's this like unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this like it's easy to forget and feel like, oh, like this is really more important. But the
Mm-hmm.
more I see that as long as I keep like my kids are number one and our household, and my marriage and all that is like intact,
Mm-hmm.
because definitely through the remodel and just being tousled through the waves, I was like laser focused on the design and
Yeah.
finding everything and just late night scrolling, looking for like the exact sconce or whatever like I was looking for, just like how I want the kitchen handles to be, and realizing I have to make them myself because I can't find, and it's it doesn't need to be so forced,
Mm-hmm.
and it's way more effective to what the biggest need in that moment, just
Mm-hmm.
meeting that, and it's just trusting that it, as you honor like those priorities,
Mm-hmm.
like things unfold, you're not forcing it so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It does so much
Yeah.
sense. And I think it's when the opportunity presents itself. Like that's
Mhm.
when I feel called to like pick it up or put it down type of
Yeah.
thing. And that's motherhood. I think sometimes you have to put things down, even
Yeah.
if it's for a short period of time.
Mhm.
And that's okay, you know?
And sometimes that's a perspective shift that
It
you
is.
gain, or it's a new
Yeah.
desire that you gain, or like even just the journey of motherhood. I feel like I could talk for hours of like my realizations on that,
Yeah.
which is the same thing of just trusting and connections, like number one.
Yeah.
Um, and, but yeah, with projects like this, it's like having that community, having that support, like it's so, like it feels like it's how we're not meant to do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
true.
not fun to do it all yourself.
No, it's so lonely.
And the times when I'm like, I feel down on myself, like, we're like a farm, but we only have olive oil, and avocados, like
Oh.
a few months out of the year.
Oh.
It's like we can't feed ourselves, it's like I don't have to grow every single thing.
No.
It's like that's why community is so important. We all can kind of have our own piece that we can put into it. So yeah, is that's
Yeah.
been my focus.
I love that.
Hmm.
Okay, so going back to your time in the wellness industry, do you have any like wellness modalities you still use or, currently love that kind of refill your cup when you need it?
I'd say I took a total like 360, because I remember being like, it's all about diet, like what you're eating, like that's it. And then it shifts to like, no, now it's this. And then studying holistic nutrition for a little while, and there's so many contradicting diets and so many contradicting, like, this is what we should be eating. And, like, this is
Yes.
bad for you. That's not good for you. And it's like, it just, I'm all about alignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's like just a few breaths and remembering, like, right now,
Mm-hmm.
like, inviting in what I want to create right now. And so, I mean, there's journaling is my number one thing I love doing. And I really want to understand a pattern, understand a fear, understand any kind of resistance. That's been like a big part of when I see things shift, is just bringing awareness. And it's amazing how when you just start writing out how you're feeling and what's going on, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know if I just kind of created my own process that I do. But that's helps me kind of clear my slate and remember, like, the simplicity of just joy is now. You know?
Yeah. When do you like to journal? Do you have a specific time, or is it just when you feel prompted?
It's kind of like my like when I call uncle on life.
Yeah.
I wait like way too long to pay attention to myself. So that's been my thing. Some people it's easy, like self-care comes easy. And for me it's like it comes easy to reach out and help and extend, like, outwards.
Yeah.
And so slowing down and realizing, like, slow is faster. Like that. So that's just like picking that theme and repeating it to myself.
Yeah.
Whatever will allow me to stay vibrationally in alignment with what I want to be creating, what my intention is. But it's mostly my kids that light it up for me. I'm just like, okay, that's not how I want to parent. This is the path I want to be on. This is the connection I want to create. This is the memories I want to create. This is how I want to feel my body. And just following that guidance with my emotions. So that's like all that matters, really. But as far as like modalities go, I got really into Yamana body rolling. And that's just like a self massage with these like inflatable balls that you just kind of roll around into different areas. And you're actually you can just kind of follow the lines of tension in your body and kind of move intuitively. But really intention behind the work is working deep into the bone and into the joints. And there's just so much of just breathing into those points until you feel softness here and here and here. And just allowing that is that, because sometimes you don't notice those tensions until you are right there. And then the physical intention of saying, okay, I'm going to relax into this, and allow this feeling and sink. There's just so much of a journey you can go on, rolling out.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
What do you like to do to refill your cup? Is it, I mean, I know you've done pottery in your past. Is there something that you just feel like years could go by and you always come back to it, or something you've always wanted to try?
I am so passionate about like functional crafts and like just things that have like purpose. Like I feel so like all of my passions with sustainability stems from self-sufficiency and just feeling like I understand how to provide for myself without just like, I'm going to go to the grocery store and that's how life works. Like, you know, there's so much more, especially from owning a farm and seeing how hard it is. There's a lot of skills just with all the acorns on our property that we could be harvesting and learning what to do with it. So there's so much to learn with the fermentation and food preservation and how to raise livestock and everything. That's an endless journey. I love cooking, and as and there's times when it's like too far, where it's like, oh, I can't start that project because I have to harvest acorns first, and oh, I want to like make everything, I want to grow everything myself, and then so I've been really more relaxed of like what resources you have in front of you. You don't have to own a farm. You don't have to own property to build community. You don't have to do any of that. I know a lot of really amazing homesteaders that food preserve, and they're going to grocery stores when they know they have a bargain day, and they have a big bin of tomatoes that are like discounted, and they'll make soup, or they'll make all their jars of sauce with that. And so you can do it in your own way. And I love like crafting too, like ceramics, like just sitting and like mending clothes, like the idea of just throwing something away because I don't want to take the time to fix it, just feels so heavy. So, we like just started having like our mending Mondays where we're taking the actual time set aside, like, okay, all those things I have put in that basket, I can start to bring it back to life.
I love that.
So just,
that's awesome.
just allowing yourself the time to live in the way that feels more natural to you. That's just my desire to be that way.
That's beautiful. Yeah, same. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I just want everyone to be able to connect with you if they'd like. So what's the best way to connect with you?
Okay. We have, our website is not finished, but there's a way to email me through our website. But our Instagram is our main way where you can kind of keep up and follow along on our journey with our farm and with the space here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And that's, your Instagram is Fabled Oaks Farm, correct?
Yeah. Fabled Oaks Farm, and the Oak Haven, and then it's like the _Oak_Haven.
Great. We'll link that too for you. Thank you for joining me today. And I just adore you, and you're so inspiring. And I know other people are inspired by you. So thank you, Kailey.
Thank you.